Hey friends, this is Toby Eunice of Garage Prospecting, and I have a story to tell you. But before I tell you that story, I would appreciate it if you'd go to the link that is in the description box below this video and click that link. It'll take you to another video that was made by Coulter Young of Mining Magnets. And you'll see him using a piece of equipment that we're going to be talking about. So let me take a break right here. Just a few seconds, I'll start the video. You start the video again when you're ready to, when you've come back from watching that other video. Okay, you're back. So what you saw Coulter using was something that he referred to a couple of times as his frontier sluice, and I think it was Mod 2 or Mod 3. It was a iteration, right? And he mentioned that he had it on his website for sale. Well, by the time I got to it, by the time I saw the video, by the time I got to his website, the only thing that was part of that piece of equipment that was for sale was this. He calls it his smooth flow header. Now, and Coulter admits that he got the idea from watching, I think it was Flower Gold Wizard, and Flower Gold Wizard actually had someone build one for him so that he could use on his beach sluice. But the problem was that this other piece, which was important to what Coulter had designed, was not available. They just hadn't printed any of them. Well, by the time Coulter got around to thinking about what he was going to do with his business, things had changed. And what had changed was he had accepted a position actually down here in New Mexico, and the position requires his full-time attention. So if you go to his website, and I put a link to his website down below in the description box, you'll see that it isn't closed down, but he says that he's reconfiguring his business, and part of it's because he's having to make these weekly trips down to New Mexico. Well, knowing that he was coming down to New Mexico, I called him and I asked him if he had any of these stabilizer pieces, and that I wanted to get one because I couldn't get it off the website. And it turns out that he had one, and he brought it with him when he came down to New Mexico the first time. We went out to dinner with his son and his nephew and his mom, and he brought this with him. So I was able to buy it from him then. So that gave me the two pieces I needed. And I assumed that because they were designed for a 6-inch sluice, they would fit on the 6-inch sluice that I now own. You know it as the Vibra sluice. That's a 6-inch wide sluice. The problem is that there's another dimension. So my sluice is 6 by 24, and the sides are 3 inches high. 1, 2, 3 inches high. The problem is that this piece is designed for a 6-inch sluice. This piece is also designed for a 6-inch sluice. But as you can see, it's designed for a sluice whose sides are less than 3 inches, 2 1/4 inches, right? And I didn't even know they made a sluice with sides that were not 3 inches. So I started looking around, and I called Coulter again. He was back up in Idaho, but he was coming to New Mexico. And I asked him if he still had any of the sluices that fit with this. And he said he thought so, but if he didn't, he'd send me a text. Well, that was a couple of weeks ago. I never did hear from him, and I'm sure it's because he's so busy. But he kept referring to it as the Trek sluice, T-R-E-K, like the bicycle company. And so I Googled it, and I found out that our good friends at Prospector's Dream had the Trek sluice with one of their mats already, and you could buy it with different mats. So they had the micro mat, they had the mini mat, and then they had the combo mat. And I thought to myself, well, I'm just going to buy the one with the mini mat. That seems to work best for me. So, but here's the important part to this story is the sides of this sluice are 2.25 inches high and should fit right here. There we go. Now, the reason this piece is so important is this is the piece that has the tripod mount right there on the back of it. I know from my photography experience that's a 1/4 by 20 mount, which fits most tripods. There's a second size of 3/8 inch, but for most tripods it's the 1/4 by 20. And then this smooth flow header slides on the end of the sluice, and you tighten it down with these knobs that he's added. Now you got to remember, all of this is 3D printed, so he makes them so they're pretty durable. I don't expect that this is ever going to break. And like, if you've watched that video that he made, you can see that he puts it through its paces pretty well. So there we are. So there's the header where the water is going to flow from. There's the mount. Now it also has some additional features, like right here, you can set the mount, you can set your level so that it's one of several degrees of angle, including 0, 5, 10, 15, and 20. So depending on what you're running and depending on what angle you want it, the bubble will help you do that. There's also a bubble right here on the front so that you can use it to level it this way, side to side. So that's how it goes. Now, the simple fact of the matter is that if I want to use this in the field, and that is my intent, is to use this out in the field, it needs some more pieces. So one piece that it's going to need, of course, is a water pump. Now, I use this pump more often than I do any other. This is the 12 volt, 1100 gallon per hour bilge pump. And that can be adapted to this 1 1/8 inch hose. It fits right on there. Now, what I usually do is I heat it up a little bit with a heat gun so it slips right over it. And then I do add a hose clamp to it. And then, of course, that will fit on this input right here. Now, that input has screw threads on it, so you want to make sure that's tight. And I usually put some plumber's putty in there to keep it from leaking. All right? So the other thing that you'll need to make this complete, because you'll see right here there's an open space, I plan to add a small piece of indicator mat right in there so that I have an indicator as to what is being produced. And then finally, lastly, what you'll need, actually not lastly, what you'll need is a tripod. And I have lots of tripods because I've been doing photography and videography for so long. This was an extra one, and all I'll have to do is take this mount, and this is referred to as a Swiss Arca mount, and you'll see, it's going to be hard to do with my gloves. Let me get a So again, I know from experience that this is a 4mm hole. You'll screw that right on there. Straighten it out. You want to tighten it too much because you don't want to break anything. And then that Swiss Arca mount there fits into this quick release right here. All right? So there's a couple of other pieces that I'll need and that I have. One piece, of course, is a bucket from which you can start the water recirculation process. Actually, it looked more like a tray, and then a bucket to collect the tailings and wash out into the recycling container. I have those, and I'll probably set those up. Now, the other important piece that if you want to make this completely portable, you do want to have that external power supply. And I have a lot of ways to power it. Let me go over here. Just give me a second. I wasn't planning to pick this up, but this is one of my store-bought power supplies, and it's very capable. We use it when we're cooking out. It has the 2 USB ports, a USB-C, 2 120 volt AC outlets, and then I've added, it has a 12 volt power outlet that I've added another 2, a plug that has an additional 2 USB ports. It also has a light on this side. So this is well manufactured. It does the job, and what I was looking for was something on which I could run my CPAP for 2 camping nights out, and this one does plenty. So that would be plenty of hours to run this pump because it's a 12 volt, 3.2 amp pump. And I know from my DC voltage regulator that I run almost everything else of, it doesn't draw all 3.25 amps. But as you saw in a previous video, I'm planning to build my own using the 20 amp per hour battery, that LifePo battery that I showed you. And it's going to be completely portable so that I can take it with this and use that power supply so it can power this bilge pump out in the field, and I can do it with a recirculating system, which I'm looking forward to doing. So that's where I am right now. I've got I guess the best way to describe it is I have all the pieces together. I just need to assemble this so it's working. I'll have this power supply to test it if I need to, but I should be building the other power supply, the one that I talked about in a previous video, over the next couple of days. So I'm hoping that next Friday's run will be a run made through this, and as a test, I will use our own pay dirt, because I know every one of our pay dirt bags has gold in it, and I think it'll make a good test. And that's what I tell you, for $15, you're getting a something you can use to test your equipment with. So I think that'll be a good test for it. So the next step, since all these pieces are here, is to assemble it into something finished, including the getting the hose ready with the bilge pump. The bilge pump has to be wired to have one of my quick release connectors on it, and everything. And then I have to get and I bring them over here. They're sitting over there. The recycling tub and the tailings bucket, and so that's pretty much complete. So I can use this temporarily until I finish building the power supply. And it's going to take me a little longer than I expected, because I do have a set of solar panels, 100-watt solar panels. This can be recharged via an AC to DC charger that it comes with. It actually comes with that. But it also, as an accessory, you can buy a 100-watt power supply that plugs right, solar power supply, solar panel that will plug right into here. So I want to add that feature, the solar panel feature, to charge my LifePo battery in the kit that I'm putting together, in the power supply that I'm putting together. So I should have that done in enough time over the weekend and through Monday and Tuesday that on Wednesday or Thursday I can actually perform a complete run with our pay dirt to test out the entire system right here on this desktop, because it'll include the recirculating tub and the tailings bucket. Okay. So did I put that out of the way? So that's the bilge pump, and of course here's as I said, the power supply. Show you that if I have to. But I'm gonna try and build my own. I've never built one of these power supplies on my own, so I've always bought them in the past. All right. That's where we are. Make sure, if you haven't watched Coulter's video, so you can see what he's done with it and how it works. And I guess I'm going to have to apologize on his behalf for not having it available in stock. As soon as I'm sure he's finished with this work that he's doing here in New Mexico, he'll get back to his 3D printing plant, and start making some of this. And by that time, you'll know how good or not it works. I'm assuming that since Coulter used it to recover gold on a beach, it must work pretty well. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. And I'll continue to produce videos like this of some of the things that I do when I'm not processing pay dirt. Have a good evening.